right. Welcome, my beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday morning. And depending on where you are in the world, hopefully, if you're out in California, hopefully you're safe. If you're in the Northeast or even Southeast, because right now we're going through a very, very cold spell. Hope you're staying safe and warm. And for the rest of you guys that are in great weather or out in the West, in the East, welcome. Now, today I have a lot to cover. Here's what we're going to be talking about in today's news and digest. We're going to be talking about TikTok and specifically how TikTok is about to launch a travel specific consumer product. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, we're going to give an update on what I'm doing in Georgia with my couples resort. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, because of this crazy weather and the fires out west, how that is affecting the airlines. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the budget airline industry, right? Or they call it the low-cost budget industry in terms of airlines, how they're shifting to a more premium product. And we're going to talk about how that's going to affect them in the future. And I want to know what you think about that. And then the last thing, if we have time, I want to talk about how the role of AI in the travel industry and how that's affecting. There was an interesting interview recently done in New York City during the Shift conference. If you're not familiar with Shift, it is a travel-based organization, and they bring on all these experts and they talk about what's going on in hotels, STR, airlines, anything related to travel and tourism. They talk about it. And a couple of days ago, they concluded their conference, but they had an interesting talk about AI and how AI is going to affect the travel industry. And I think it's going to affect it greatly. Now, for those of you that are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, if you have any questions, comments during this podcast, just list them below. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Welcome. Thank you for watching. And let me quickly begin. Let me share my screen. I'm going to show you the last time we got on here, we were experimenting with a couple of things, and it was a total fail. We could not get a single video to broadcast, but I think today we probably can make that happen. Let me see if I can share this real quick. And this was the video that I was trying to show to promote us.
Hosting got you stressed? Meet Dream Vacations by PMI. Relax, we've got it covered. DM us the word help. Hosting got you stressed? Meet Dream.
That was a video that I was trying to show, and we couldn't get it on. So, but anyways, it's just a short, very short promo video that we have, because as an STR operator, especially if you're trying to grow or you're new to the game, and this is not what you do full time, and you're trying to do it as a part-time or a side hustle, man, it can be extremely stressful. And I personally, now I'm biased because not only am I in the industry, but I'm in the business of helping others in this industry. But our management fee is 15%, people. For 15% to give you more free time to help you maximize your revenue, and more importantly, to eliminate some of the stress related to short-term rental management, I think it's a win-win. especially when I know that we can market your property better than you can, and definitely we can handle a 24-hour service that you're not able to do it as a one person, as a solopreneur. There's no way that you can be on the ball 24/7, especially if you have other responsibilities. So anyway, that was the video I was trying to show. So now let's see where I want to start first. You know what? Let's start with this past week. So for those that are following the channel, or if you're not aware, we're building a couples resort in my vineyard in Georgia. Now, I decided, probably not wisely, to do the majority of the work myself, or a lot of the work myself, as much as I can myself. And I recruited the help of my son and my brother, but they were only here for a couple of days. The rest of the time I've been doing it. And I'm going to show you some of the disasters, some of the lessons that I'm learning. In fact, let me show you this quick video. Let me see if I can share my screen again. Let me see if I can. Where can I bring this up? So, and I'll just talk about yesterday. Yesterday, I was by myself. And let me see if I can do it here. Let's see if it comes up. 1 second. Share screen. It's not going to let me show the. At least I don't think it is. No, it's not going to let me show the video. Anyway, so yesterday, here's a couple of things that happened. Woke up in the morning, had to go out and buy some stuff because I woke up, all 3 of my chainsaws were not functioning. So I had to fix the chainsaws. Then after I fixed those, I went out to get on the skid steer, and the one that I wanted to use, which is the one with the 4-steam motor, that one didn't start. So decided to get on the cutter, the other skid steer with the cutter. And as I got on that skid steer and I started doing some of the mulching, I'm new to this, people. So I didn't realize that the skid steer that I had an actual glass window in the front, versus the other skid steer with the 4-steam motor, it's plexiglass. It's a very strong plexiglass. Well, I assumed that the other one was also plexiglass, but nonetheless, it wasn't. And as I'm doing the mulching and I lifted the cutter, it left a gap between the skid steer and the cutter, and a chunk of wood came crashing through the window. And I wanted to show you that video. But right now I can't, because I don't know why the system's not letting me share that part of the video. But if you follow me on Instagram, you will see it. And we did part of it. We did it on a YouTube video. So on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. But anyways, just imagine having a piece of wood flying at you at 100 miles an hour, shattering the glass, and all this glass comes flying in. Here's a lesson, people. Number 1, always wear your safety gear. And number 2, before tackling on stuff like this, man, get a crash course and really learn the operation of the machine. Now, I knew that the machine, that when it spits out some of the wood, or when it starts to mulch and spits out some of the stuff, I knew that was flying at a high rate of speed. And that's why you can't have anybody around you, no one in the front. And So I was cautious of that. But I didn't realize that the glass, now I knew it on the other one because it would hit that windshield alarm. And I knew the other one was plexiglass, but I didn't know about this machine that it was actual glass, which what a mistake. And I should have asked that question when I got the machine. Is it plexiglass or is it actual glass? Now, thank God it's tempered glass. So it just shattered, but it shattered in so many pieces. And like I said, it got all over me. But I'm here to tell the story. And the second thing that happened yesterday was, again, it didn't start, so I had a mechanic come out to jumpstart it because I thought it was just the battery, but it turned out it's the actual alternator that went bad. Couldn't fix it, but the mechanic that came out in a heavy truck, and we got that thing stuck in the mud. Now, that's what happened there. Now, just a quick update on what we've done so far. So we did the trails. All the trails are completed. In the next couple of days, it rained yesterday pretty heavy, so the trails are pretty muddy. But I'm going to go out there and videotape the trails. We're going to be posting that up soon, so you can see all the trails. Again, we have ATV trails, mountain bike trails, and hiking trails, some dubbed as both. We did all the clearing that we did. We did the clearing for the dome. We did the clearing for the mirror house, and we also prepped the barn for the barn conversion. Now that is the construction on those three things are going to start tomorrow, or I'm hoping to start tomorrow. Again, a little delayed with the machines breaking down, but we're hoping to start some of that tomorrow. Again, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, so you can stay abreast of all the work being done in the vineyard. Now let's talk about some of the news. Let's see which one of these news I want to talk about first. Let me just go back a little bit on some of the lessons that I learned, right? On the machine itself, until you start actually using it, you're not really going to really appreciate the power of these machines and how they function. So I highly recommend that before you tackle on some big projects, that you do small projects first. Now, because I'm crushed for time, I didn't do that, and that's one of the lessons that I'm learning, is that I got to be more patient, a lot more time to my preparation, so that when we start tackling these big clearing of all these big trees and stuff, that we understand the capacity of the machine and we understand our time frame, right? So that's a quick big lesson there when doing that. Now let's talk about TikTok, right? In fact, let me go to that article on TikTok so you guys can see what we're talking about. Now, I mentioned TikTok in the past and how TikTok has become, TikTok and Instagram, how they have become really catching up to YouTube as the #1 search engine for travel. Now, TikTok is taking this a step further. Real quick, let me get this article. They're taking this a step further, and they're actually creating a platform, meaning a travel planner within TikTok, so that companies like myself, other OTAs and travel agencies can use them to sell their products or their services, right? So let's just go on here and let me read exactly what it is. Now, this article came from Skift. I keep saying Shift. It's Skift. TikTok moves into the travel-specific advertising, signaling its growing influence in the sector and challenging the perception that it's just a Gen Z dance video platform. So, the evolution of TikTok is very interesting. And one of the things that we're looking at, and we have been looking at as a company, is how do you utilize TikTok like we use Instagram. For a while now, we've been using Instagram to promote our properties, to promote travel, and to promote our business. Now, we dabbled in TikTok, but not as much as we have Instagram. Now, TikTok, as anybody that's been on TikTok has realized, within the last year, but specifically the last 6 months, you're seeing a shift, right? From TikTok being like they just mentioned, a dance video platform, and more of entertainment, like jokes, comedians, etc., more into a educational and informative platform. And it started with travel influencers and travel in general. So they want to promote that section more so they can expand their reach. Now, TikTok said Thursday is in the process of launching its first e-commerce product exclusively for travel brands. Hugely important, right? The media giant is testing the product with a select number of brands, but it has plans to roll out for general availability their travel brand platform. Now, it's called travel ads or travel categories. What makes this great is that it's going, number one, it's going to be the first product built on travel intended model only. And again, it's trying to compete with YouTube and Instagram, because YouTube and Instagram have been using this model for a while. Now, they're taking it a step further, because it's becoming more of an e-commerce. Hugely important. Now, here's how we've been using it, and I've learned this through my son and his girlfriends when we traveled, and I talked about this before. But within TikTok, when we went to Europe last year, I mentioned that we used Instagram exclusively to find restaurants, bars, rooftops, spas, all that stuff, right? And to see which little towns we wanted to go visit. Now, here's an interesting point. I have two good friends of mine. They were planning a trip to Greece. They went on TikTok and started looking at all TikTok videos so they can figure out where, when, and what to do when they got there. Now, which for me, when I had the conversation with them, because I'm getting ready to buy their tickets and coordinate their accommodations. When I asked them about their itinerary, how they came about it, they mentioned TikTok, right? So now they are a younger couple. I think older couples are still not into the TikTok thing, but people, it's interesting on how younger people are using these platforms now to plan their travel. Now, I'm going to segue that story. Oh, before I go into that, because I want to segue into how AI plays a role in that as well. But the only thing that I see that's going to slow down TikTok as a travel platform, especially in the US, is this potential US ban on TikTok. Now, fortunately, especially if you are in the travel industry or an influencer, or you simply like TikTok, I think the Trump administration is not as gung-ho in banning TikTok. And more importantly, if you're not aware, there's a big move by Kevin O'Leary, who is a venture capitalist. He's part of the what's that show with? I'm drawing a blank on the show. But anyways, he put on a group, and they're very, very interested in buying TikTok. That process is actually moving forward. And if Kevin actually ends up buying TikTok, I don't think we're going to have the issue with the ban. And especially right now, there's a lawsuit saying that it's unconstitutional to ban it. But let me read another interesting part about the TikTok and travel influencers, right? Bennett, who is one of the executives for TikTok in the US, he stated, we have a billion people on the platform globally, and our average age is now over 30 years of age. When it comes to travel, there are so many different subcategories and something for everyone there. Again, there's a big push within TikTok to expand to a broader base, a broader customer base. Now, the travel content on TikTok has been growing, and over the last 6 months has grown over 250%. Let me say that again. Within the last 6 months, the travel content on TikTok has grown over 250%. If you are in the travel industry and you've been ignoring TikTok like I have, wake the F up, people, because you're missing out. I've been missing out. Now, there's another interesting concept here, is that within that segment, right, there's a big audience for luxury travel. So Bennett also said specific hashtagging for luxury travel has received about 27 million views in the last month alone. So the luxury travel market is really growing on TikTok, right? Now, let's segue back into AI. Let me go into that story real quick. Let me see if I can find the full story. So in the last STR News, I talked about how AI, specifically AI for in the use of travel, you know, we talked about Airbnb going more personalized. We talked about Uber. We talked about Expedia, Verbal. All these OTAs, all these online travel agencies are starting to shift on how they present themselves to the user. They're trying to be more personalized, and they're using your data to do so. The same way that Amazon has done it for years, when like I mentioned before, or the same way, not just Amazon, but the same way social media platforms have been doing it for years to present content that they believe that you're interested in by the way you interact with the platform. You're seeing OTAs doing the same. Now, in the conference that I mentioned, there was a lot of talk about this, and AI is shaping travel as it relates to searches, as it relates to deals, and as it relates to loyalty programs. Delta, and I'll touch on this probably in a different next week's news, because there's a lot of stuff coming out on it. Delta's changing their travel program, meaning loyalty program. And if you're not familiar, Delta was in alliance with Lyft. They have broken that alliance and now shifted to Uber. We'll see how that plays out. But they're using AI to personalize their loyalty program, and there's going to be more details to come about. So stay tuned, because it's going to change the way you use your loyalty programs with them. So now, as a takeaway with AI, if you're a short-term rental operator, you have to adapt to how AI is changing the travel industry. I talked about this before. One of the reasons why I am creating and investing heavily in these resort type accommodations is because it's what is trending. It's not one reason, but more importantly, is because how these platforms like Airbnb, it's what they're pushing. So if you go on Airbnb today, most likely you're going to see some type of a unique stay, right? You're going to see something like a tree house, like a dome, like a glass house, a mirror house. You're going to see some of that stuff on their first page, because that's what they're shifting to. Really start to do your homework and learn how AI is functioning, because I'm telling you, you're going to probably get left behind if you're not adapting to AI. We have been using AI more in the customer service and our customer service department and segment of our business, but we're also going to start looking at AI into planning for our customers. Now, having said that, here's another one of the cautionary tales that they mentioned in the conference, and that is we're going to see how this plays out. And here's why this is important, right? AI and its products, like, let's talk about ChatGPT, just like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is its own company. Where the sticking point is, and where we don't really know how it's going to work, is that who gets paid and who gets paid what, right? Currently, if I advertise on Airbnb or Booking or Verbal, the platform is going to charge me a service fee. Now, on Airbnb, it's 3%, and depending on your account. I'm sorry. Depending on your account, because some new people and some smaller accounts, Airbnb is charging up to 15%. I mean, that's a big chunk. Booking already charges 15% unless you're on the subscription model. So their platform fees are growing and they're getting more steep. So hence why, man, if you're not pushing and marketing more direct bookings, you're going to be in trouble, people. I've been saying that for a while. A lot of people have been in trouble. A lot of people have left the game because of the increase in cost, the increase in competition, and the fact that an average short-term rental is not doing as well anymore. You really have to go above and beyond and have more unique stuff. But going back to what I was talking about AI, how that's going to affect, because right now you can use AI and you're not being charged by AI. But I firmly believe, or I have a tendency to believe, that there may be a possibility in which if you start to use AI like a travel agency, they're going to charge you like a travel agency. And if you own a travel agency like I do, this is going to be a sticking point. And the travel agency, for a couple of years back, was on the decline. It picked up post-pandemic. I mean, it was increasing steadily and fast. But I think going in the future, it's going to level off, if not drop a little bit, with AI being more of a travel agency with personalized travel planning. But for us, we don't use our travel agency as our main source of income. We just use it to enhance our customer service and our customer experience, because our core business is the short-term rental management and operations. So again, those that are strictly travel agency, you got to continue to adapt and use AI and figure out how you can evolve with what's going on. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is how airline is redefining travel. And again, here's the customization of an experience within travel. Now, I talked about this before as well. Now, I'm talking specifically about how the low-cost airlines like Southwest, Frontier, JetBlue, Spirit, how these airlines are starting to shift into a more premium component. Now, and here I want you guys to give me your input on this. Now, when traveling domestically, have always exclusively traveled on one of those, exclusively on one of the airlines that I just mentioned, right? If I'm traveling domestically or if I'm traveling international, but close. When I say close, anything with a 3-hour flight distance, like going to Mexico, like going to Colombia, like going to the Caribbean. I usually travel to these places on these low-cost carriers like JetBlue, Spirit, Frontier, etc. I talked about JetBlue recently and how JetBlue has expanded their Mint, which is their business class sector of their airline. They're expanding that. I talked about how they also are expanding the airport experience. If you haven't been to Logan, Boston Logan International Airport, highly recommend you visit the JetBlue wing of it or terminal because they have done a phenomenal job. They're stepping up their game in terms of their premium sector. Now, my question to you is, are you willing to pay a little more for this premium service that they're providing? Now, I personally am willing to do that, but the reason I was using that originally was because I wanted a lower cost airfare because I know how to hack the system, right? I know how to hack the system. I talked about it before. So, for example, on Spirit, a lot of people talk a lot of shit about Spirit, and oftentimes rightfully so. But if you look at their track record in terms of delays, JetBlue far out is delayed much more than Spirit does. When you talk about how the reliability of their service, Spirit is much better than JetBlue. I can tell you from personal experience how that's the case. And as I mentioned, JetBlue right now has been the only airline that has been fined by the DOT for not being reliable, for the constantly being delayed. Now, going back to the hacks, right? I'm not going to go through all of them, but because I mentioned a lot of these hacks on other videos. But one of the biggest hacks, if you want to fly cheap and comfortable, you can do so on Spirit, but you have to be part of the loyalty program. You have to become a gold member, and it's very easy to do. One of the easiest way to do it, just get their credit card. Even if you don't use it, get their credit card, meet the minimum requirements, and that'll give you gold status. But here's what happens when you have gold status. When you have gold status, you can, and are part of their loyalty program, you can fly for less than $100. You can fly round trip to many places, right? And when you can get priority boarding. You get, and I highly recommend you always pick the emergency row seats. Don't get the big seats out front, right? The emergency row seats usually, especially flying international, are going to be the last ones that they sell. And if you pick the window seat, especially I think it's 12A or 12F, which are the two window seats, man, you get plenty of room, plenty of leg room. The middle seat almost always isn't taken, and you get it for free, right? So you're not paying anything for your luggage or your carry-on. So you save a lot of money that way. But you can do the same with a lot of different carriers. I talked about Frontier, how they have the Go Wild program. You know, I paid $249 or $289, and now starting April all the way to April of 2025, I can hop on a flight for just $1 anywhere Frontier travels. There's a lot of ways to use these low budget airlines to travel very inexpensively. But going back to the question, these airlines now, like Southwest, for example, they completely revamped their services. They got away with, sit anywhere. They're assigning seats. They're doing premium seating. So my question to you is, do you think that's a good idea, a bad idea? Would you pay a little bit more for premium or not? All right, my beautiful people, that's going to take care of today's news. For those that are on, thank you for being on. I love you guys. I will see you on the next one.